When I was 14, one ordinary night around 9 p.m., I was babysitting my little cousin at his house. My mom and aunt were out shopping, while my dad and uncle were at the movie theater. Everything seemed normal until I started feeling uneasy, like something was off. I couldn't quite figure it out, so I tried to ignore it and continued watching TV with my cousin. But the feeling didn't go away. I got up to lock the back door, and as I walked back through the kitchen, I saw what was causing my unease. There was a very scruffy and homeless-looking man staring into the window, watching my cousin. My protective instincts kicked in immediately. I didn't want to alarm my cousin, so I acted casually and told him it was time for bed because our parents would be home soon. I went upstairs and tucked him in, all the while knowing there was a man outside who wanted to get in. I was about 125 pounds and 5'8" at the time, and I played football for my school. I remembered there was a meat tenderizing hammer in the kitchen, so I went downstairs, grabbed it, and went back to the window where I had seen the man. But he was gone. I quickly checked the front door, making sure it was locked. Both the deadbolt and the knob were secure. I ran back upstairs with my meat tenderizer and sat in front of my cousin's door. He asked me what I was doing, and I just told him not to worry and to stay low. I called the cops and then my dad and uncle. The cops said they would take about half an hour, and my dad and uncle were 45 minutes away. That's when I heard a window shatter and heavy boots walking around downstairs. I told my cousin to stay calm, hide under the covers, and remain silent. I could hear the man walking around downstairs, and it was terrifying. I gripped the meat tenderizer tightly and waited. After about 5 minutes, I heard the boots coming up the stairs. My cousin's room was no more than 10 feet from the stairs. I heard the man open the doors to my aunt and uncle's room, then the bathroom. He went back downstairs and opened the door to the basement. 15 minutes later, the police arrived and burst into the house. It turned out the man had escaped from a mental hospital 1 province away. The thought that I was so close to facing a mentally unstable person when I was just 14, with nothing but a wooden door between us, still sends shivers down my spine. As a child, I really didn't want to attend the funeral of a close family friend. I pleaded with my parents to let me stay home, and after some initial anger, they finally agreed. As they left, I sank into the couch, feeling a wave of relief wash over me for avoiding the somber event. To distract myself, I started playing GTA 4. I was so immersed in the game that I barely noticed the first soft knock at the door. I dismissed it, thinking it was just the wind or a branch tapping. However, about 20 minutes later, a much louder, urgent knock startled me. I cautiously approached the door, peeking through the curtains, but all I saw was an all-black German shepherd staring through the gate at my front door. Trying to shake off the uneasy feeling, I returned to my game. But the peace didn't last long. The banging and kicking at the door resumed, loud and insistent. My heart raced as I bolted off the couch and dashed to my parents' room, my mind swirling with fear and confusion. In a panic, I grabbed my dad's gun from his bedside table and crept back to the door, unsure of what I might find. Peering out the window, a chill ran down my spine. It was the black German shepherd again, but now on my side of the fence, standing directly in front of my door, staring straight at me. I was frozen in terror, not knowing what to do next. The dog's presence felt ominous, like it was peering into my soul. After what felt like an eternity, the dog finally turned away, disappearing into the darkness, and the banging stopped. I couldn't even comprehend what just happened. I was lost for words. From that night on, I never stayed home alone again. The memory of that eerie evening haunted me, serving as a constant reminder of the strange and frightening things that can happen even in the safety of your own home. One evening, my older sibling and I found ourselves alone in our quaint Ohio town, a place with a population smaller than my mom's high school graduating class in the city we had moved from. My sibling was under some sort of grounding, a memory now faded, and both our house phone and their cell phone were securely locked in my dad's gun safe, a combination that remained a mystery to us. Our grandparents resided just down the street, with our great-grandmother living in a cozy house they had built for her on the property, ensuring she could maintain her independence while being in close proximity to family. Our parents had informed us they were off to check on our great-grandmother, as our grandparents were away, promising to return for a pizza feast. This plan seemed delightful to my 7-year-old self and my 15-year-old sibling. We entertained ourselves with video games, growing increasingly hungry and curious about our parents' return. After what felt like an eternity, about 2 hours, I heard a knock on the door. Excitement for the anticipated meal led me downstairs, my sibling trailing behind after saving the game. However, what awaited us at the door was not our parents, but a tall, lean white man with short black hair and scruffy facial hair, appearing to be around 24 or 25 years old. This encounter was unsettling, as familiarity was a hallmark of our small town, and I had no recognition of this individual. I signaled 1 second with my finger and closed the curtain, turning to find my sibling also staring at the door in disbelief, having witnessed the stranger too. In a matter of seconds, the knocking escalated to pounding, which then turned to shaking and rattling of our doorknob. Terrified and without a means to contact our parents, my sibling grabbed my hand and hurried me into the kitchen. They grabbed a knife, the handle snapping in their grip, prompting them to grab another one. We sought refuge in the laundry room, clinging to each other, the cacophony of banging and pounding resonating through the house. After what felt like an eternity, but was likely only about 5 minutes, the front door finally opened. My sibling had always been my protector, ready to defend me at a moment's notice. They were prepared to confront the stranger with their makeshift weapon, but to our surprise, it was our mom who appeared carrying 2 pizza boxes and perplexed by the sight of her children huddled together in tears on the floor. We quickly explained the situation, but instead of alarm, our revelation was met with laughter. It turned out that our dad was outside conversing with the stranger, who had come to inquire about purchasing a broken-down car that had been sitting in our driveway for months. He claimed to be a mechanic. My mom, while apologetic for our fright, found the situation somewhat amusing. She relayed our distress to the man, who expressed remorse for scaring us. We were reassured that the phones would not be locked away in the future and spent the rest of the evening eating pizza through choked sobs. However, even as a child, there was a lingering unease that I couldn't quite articulate. Now, as an adult, that feeling has intensified. Why would a grown man persistently pound on the door, shake the handle, and attempt to enter a house where the parents were absent, or at the very least, the youngest child had indicated they were coming? And why approach a car, which had no "for sale" sign so late in the evening, around 9 or 10 p.m.? Reflecting on this, it becomes increasingly clear that the man's intentions may not have been as innocent as they appeared. The thought of what could have transpired had our parents not returned when they did sends a chill down my spine, and it's a scenario I prefer not to dwell on. This eerie experience from my 7th grade year still haunts me deeply. The memory is vivid, as if it happened just yesterday. It was a scorching hot day, and I practically raced home after school, desperate to use the bathroom. Our house, a quaint old-style brick home in the South, exuded a sense of tranquility and safety. It was a modest place with just 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a kitchen, and a living room, totaling about 1,000 square feet. As I sat on the toilet seeking relief from the heat, I suddenly heard my childhood nickname being called out. The voice was unmistakably my mom's, yet my rational mind knew she was at work, miles away. A wave of panic washed over me as I realized I was alone in the house. The thought of a potential intruder sent shivers down my spine. Hastily finishing my business, I cautiously opened the bathroom door, half expecting to find someone lurking in the hallway. But there was no one there. I dashed outside, my heart pounding, and waited anxiously for my mom to return home. When she finally arrived, I poured out my tale of fear and confusion. She checked every nook and cranny of the house, but found no signs of an intruder. She dismissed the incident as a figment of my imagination, a trick of the mind. Months passed, and the memory faded into the background of my mind. But one cold, dreary weekend day, it all came rushing back to me. I was alone in the house again, this time working on homework at the kitchen table. The house was enveloped in an eerie silence, accentuated by the dim, hazy light filtering through the few windows. Suddenly, from the end of the hallway, I heard it again, the voice calling out my name, my childhood nickname, clear as a bell. Fear gripped me like never before. I grabbed my jacket, tears streaming down my face, and fled outside, unable to comprehend what was happening. From the safety of the garage, I watched in horror as the back door slowly creaked open and then slammed shut, despite knowing with absolute certainty that no one else was home. Years have passed since then, but the memory still lingers, fresh and vivid in my mind. My mother, who still resides in the same house, has experienced similar occurrences. She often speaks of hearing my late father's voice calling out to her from the living room, only to find no one there. She dismisses it as her imagination, but for me, the events of that day will forever remain a chilling mystery, etched into my memory with a mix of fear and fascination. I was a junior in high school when this chilling incident unfolded. It began like any other day after school, with me arriving home before anyone else due to my parents working in a town far away, not getting back until late. Today was no exception. I entered my house, heading straight to my room, collapsing face down on my bed, utterly drained from the day's events. As I lay there, enveloped in silence for about 15 minutes, the tranquility was suddenly shattered. Out of nowhere, I felt the mattress depress, as if someone had just sat down on the edge of my bed. Initially, this didn't strike me as odd, as sometimes my mom would do this to chat or discuss dinner options or simply check in on my day. However, without shifting from my prone position to glance at the unexpected visitor, alarm bells began to ring in my mind. I hadn't heard the front door open, signaling my parents' return, and their cars weren't in the driveway. I knew I was the only one supposed to be home at that time. Fear gripped me as I lay there, unsure of what to do next. Slowly, I turned my head to look towards the edge of the bed, fully anticipating an intruder or some other unknown presence. To my horror, all I saw was the indentation on the bed where someone or something had been sitting. Panic surged through me, and I screamed at the top of my lungs, the sound reverberating through the house. Suddenly, my bed lifted, as though the unseen entity had stood up, and I heard hurried footsteps fleeing from my room, followed by the door slamming shut. Heart racing, I leapt from the bed and sprinted out of the house, seeking refuge at our neighbor's house, a close family friend. I recounted the terrifying experience, and he kindly allowed me to wait there until my parents returned. When my parents finally arrived home, I recounted the chilling encounter. They searched the house but found no sign of an intruder. That experience continues to haunt me, a chilling reminder of the unknown forces that can sometimes invade our lives. I thank my lucky stars that nothing like that ever occurred again in that house or in my life, but the memory remains etched in my mind, a stark reminder of the inexplicable events we may encounter.